Welcome to Art with Mrs. Cap, where we are going on a journey through the world of art and the many histories and cultures that influence it. Whether you're a kid or a kid at heart, wanting to learn more about the art world, this is the podcast for you. So join us as we journey through art with Mrs. Cap. Greetings and welcome to Art with Mrs. Cap. So today we're going to be looking at ancient India, and we're specifically going to be looking at one of the oldest stone structures in India itself. So we're going to be looking at the area called Sanchi, which is a Buddhist complex. It is famous for its great stupa, which is what we're looking at specifically today. But Sanchi is in the Raisin district of the state of Madhya Pradesh in India. So it's about 46 kilometers, 29 miles northeast of Bhopal, the capital of Madhya Pradesh. So the Great Stupa at Sanchi, as we said, is one of the oldest stone structures in India. So it's important because it is a monument to Indian architecture. It is a monument of religious importance and cultural heritage. It was originally commissioned by the Emperor Asoka of 3rd century BCE. So this is from about the 3rd century BC, and it's still around today, which is really cool. So the central part of it, that nucleus center of it, is kind of a hemispherical brick structure that's built over the relics of the Buddha. So this is an important structure in Buddhism. Further emphasizing the importance of this site, the structure was crowned by a che tree, which is a parasol-like structure that symbolizes high rank, and it's intended to honor and shelter the relics. So the original construction work on this stupa was overseen by Asoka, and then his wife Devi was the daughter of a merchant of the nearby Vidisha. So Sanchi was her birthplace as well as the venue of her wedding to Asoka. In the 1st century, 4 elaborately carved toranas, ornamental gateways, and a balustrade encircling the entire structure was added. So about 200 years later, after the original structure, these gateways and this balustrade was added. So the stupa, the Sanchi stupa, was built during the Maurya period, and it was made of bricks, a railing. With its tiers, it was the symbol of the Dharma, the wheel of the law. So the dome was set on a higher circular drum, which could be accessed by a staircase. So a second stone pathway at ground level was enclosed by a stone balustrade, and the railings around the Great Stupa, or Stupa number 1, do not have artistic reliefs. These are only slabs with some, inscriptions on them. These elements are dated to circa 150 BC or 175 to 125 BC. Although the railings are made up of stone, they are copied from a wooden prototype. So the joints between the coping stones have been cut at a slant as wood is naturally cut, and not vertically as stone would be cut. So that's kind of how they knew this was that wood was used as a prototype for this. Besides the short records of the donors written on the railings in Brahmi script, there are 2 later inscriptions on the railings added during the time of the Gupta period. Some reliefs are visible on the stairway balustrade, but they are probably slightly later than those that you would find on some of the other stupas in the area that are dated around 125 to 100 BC. Some people believe that these reliefs, rather crude and without obvious Buddhist connotations, are the oldest reliefs in all of Sanchi, slightly older than the reliefs of Sanchi Stupa number 2, which is a later stupa in this area. We're looking at the Great Stupa, which is known as number 1. So you have, the balustrade, there's stonework, you've got these pathways around it, you've got the summit railing with the umbrellas, you've got inscriptions, you have reliefs on the stairway that include, a flame palmette and lotus, a peacock, a woman riding a centaur, lotus, half lotus, lion, elephant with branch, and floral motif. So you have all these types of reliefs that can be found on this structure. So in addition to the Great Stupa in Sanchi, according to legend, King Asoka, who was the first king or the first emperor to embrace Buddhism, created 84,000 stupas. Legend says he divided the Buddha's ashes among them all. Now, some people believe that is an exaggeration, but, he built these about 250 years after the Buddha's death. It's clear he was responsible for building many stupas all over northern India and other territories under the Mauryan dynasty in areas that are now known as Nepal, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan. One of his goals was to provide new converts with the tools to help in their new faith. So in this, he was following the directions of the Buddha, who, prior to his death or his parinirvana, directed that stupas should be erected in places other than those associated with key moments in his life, so that the hearts of many shall be made calm and glad. So Asoka also built stupas in regions where people might have difficulty reaching the stupas that contained the Buddha's ashes. So he built them all over the place, wanting to make sure there was a holy site for, new converts and to help solidify their religious beliefs. So this is kind of pre-Hinduism, when we start to see a rise in Hinduism happening with some of the construction. But, this is some of the earliest stone construction that we see in India. So it is very, very important as far as that. We'll see later structures like Angkor Wat that are Hindu, but this is a Buddhist structure, and it's from about the 3rd century BC and located in Sanchi. So if you wanted to go see this one day, you'd have to go travel. Unlike some of the things that we look at that are in museums, this is site specific. And so you would have to go travel to India and go to this holy site to visit it. So it is definitely important. It has karmic importance as well, and very important to Buddhist communities. So I hope you enjoyed this episode today, as we kind of looked at something a little different from some of the other things we've looked at so far this season with some of the ancient cultures that we're exploring. And I hope you join us again as we explore more ancient cultures this season. We hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Be sure to subscribe and check out more episodes as we travel through the world of art and art history to have a better understanding of our own ties to the culture and history of humanity.